Survivor Specialist Phil and Alexa are back with another episode of MTV's The Challenge Double Agents. I am joined again by John and Annabelle, and we are recapping the first 30 minutes of tonight's episode of The Challenge because I refuse to talk about the last hour. I'm really mad we didn't just get a head start at around 8:40, just sit down and start going. But here we are. We're back. Episode 12. Somehow, some way, there are now more women left in the game than men after an entire season where the women have not been able to stay in. We had to have Ashley come back into the game. All this craziness. We start tonight with two more men than women. It looks like it's just going to be a double elimination. It ends as a triple elimination. So much going on. I think in all of our theories that we threw around last week, we pretty much called, at least in one of those, what was actually going to go down tonight. And it did go down. But Nam going home is sad. It sucks. That was also something we had talked about the last 2 weeks. Anyway, there are 7 women, 6 men. How did that happen? Annabelle, what in the world just went on?
Yeah, that was wild. That was kind of heavy in terms of casualties. I mean, I guess it's somewhat better than no casualties just because it's more productive. But seeing Nam go like that, especially after losing his partner in the previous episode, that was sad. You never want somebody to get pulled for injury reasons or anything like that. I was excited for the double elimination, though. I was glad that happened. I think we needed to kind of even the score a little bit. And that was, I mean, CT got the matchup he was wanting. Devin was like, if I'm going to lose, I'm going to lose big. So let me get Darrell down here to whoop my butt. And that's what happened. So,
John, what do we think about Devin's decision to pick Darrell off the top?
You got to give Devin the credit. He went in there with all the spunk Devin brings to the challenge. I was like, no. I'm going to go out fighting. Give me Darrell. He's been talking shit about me for weeks. I want him. I'm going to beat him or he's going to beat me. And in the end, that decision really makes things way more difficult for everyone else left in the house if he loses anyways. So it's exactly how you expect Devin to go out of this house.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it totally made sense. When I was trying to break it down, like, why would you want to go against Darrell? And I think the total decision was he didn't want to go against Darrell. It was just Darrell was the only guy without a skull. So let's see what happens. Don't have anybody else protecting the skull. Don't put a skull back out there. And then you can't take Corey. You can't take Nam. You're not going to take Leroy. Leroy is scary. You know, we saw what he did to Jay. You're not going to go against Kyle because that's your guy. So you're not going to do that. Josh, you can't go against. You can't pick CT. And are you really going to go against Fessy? This is kind of something that Fessy seems like he's more athletic for. If you think that you can beat, if you want to take out Darrell, this is the challenge to take him out in because it did have a puzzle, which is what Devin knew it would have. It's more based on like weight and all of that and getting momentum. So I think ultimately it's not as bad of a decision. If this was a hall brawl and he's like, all right, I want Darrell, it would have been like, all right, man, like whatever. You're going to have to just take one for the team and take Kyle and tell him sorry, but our alliance is doomed. But I think he pretty much knew looking up there because Josh was down there. He didn't have a choice. There was nothing that was going to work in his favor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's another way to troll Big Brother too. I mean, he at least had to, he made them sweat a little bit because, you know, Amber was like, oh no, like if Darrell does win, what if he doesn't want to stay with me? I mean, she had that confessional about, you know, if he wants to, I'll be sad if he leaves me, but you know, if he leaves me, I understand. We knew he was never going to do it, but he at least made everybody sweat a little bit, which is totally a Devin move. If you're going to go out with a bang like that. So yeah. I respect it.
Yeah. And I mean, the only respect I will give to CT this episode comes from these eliminations and not anything that happened after these eliminations. But I do give respect to CT for actually just being like, Devin, who do you want?
Mm-hmm. Well, that's how he had to play it.
Yeah, exactly. It was the best thing to do in that situation. And, you know, the end of CT's good moves in the rest of this episode.
Yeah, I got to say, as somebody who has never watched a challenge until this season, CT was the director tonight, and he literally just did, hey, I've been on the challenge for 18 seasons, and this is how you get screen time, and this is how you come back, and this is how you do things. This was all so forced, and I think it was easy to get Big T because he knew that Big T would react to it the way she did. He knew that Big T wouldn't be happy sitting down. Even when he's sitting down to apologize to her, he set it all up so that it would create this big drama moment. I think this was all staged as much as it possibly could be. Whether or not CT was actually in on the staging, I don't think so. But I do think that CT staged this as much as possible. He wanted to look like the ass. He wanted this big drama moment. And he's ultimately, it doesn't matter at this point. I think he's tired of playing the social game, and now he doesn't have to play the social game because he has his gold skull. And it's like, fine, if you want to come at me, come at me. I think I can beat you all anyway. So now I don't think he really gives a damn. And yeah, that whole fire thing, it was so blown out of proportion. It was so staged. It was just for the cameras. I mean, after Big T walked away, he literally looked straight at the camera. He looked straight at it because he knows, like, did you get it? Did you get the shot? Should we do it again? Like, that's what this all felt like to me.
No, absolutely. And what it really comes down to is no one. There are I won't say no one, but there are very few human beings who could choose their words as poorly as CT did when apologizing to Big T.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's also not. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Annabelle.
It's, I don't know, because he wasn't sorry. So you can't really even be forgiven if you're not even sorry for what you're apologizing for. I mean, at the end of the day, it is a game. He's just trying to advance himself. But yeah, I agree. I think a lot of it was for the cameras. He's trying to get that screen time, have that time with Big T. And like, I'm sure he's not a bad guy and he doesn't, really want to burn a bridge with Big T. He was trying to get back on her good side, but was he sorry about it? No, he knows he made the right strategic choice for himself.
I honestly don't even think that he was trying to get back on her good side. I really don't think he gives a shit. I don't think he's a bad person by any means. I actually think CT's fine. I think CT played this game calmly up until tonight. I just think that he doesn't care. And his life, his career has been being a challenge contestant. Mm-hmm. That's what he's made his career doing. Mm-hmm. He kind of reminds me of a less chaotic version of Johnny Fairplay, where Johnny Fairplay, if he comes back on the show, he's going to try to do the thing that's most outlandish. First, he lies about his grandma, then he comes out and quits. That's what he wants to do because he's trying to he's trying to outdo himself almost. And if he were to go out a third time, he would do something else to outdo himself. Why does, War Dog vote out Kelly? That's why. And I think that's what CT was doing. I can only do Survivor and analogies because I've never actually watched the challenge, but that's what this felt like to me. It was, I want to just have that moment where everybody's going to say, all right, CT, like, got to have you back again because of all that drama you caused. And he was able to do it at the expense of Big T. Do I agree with it? No. But do I see what he was doing? Yeah, this is reality TV personality 101. That's all he was doing. And because he's been around long enough, he was able to stage the whole thing.
Yeah. And I mean, the biggest thing that really sucks about it is that it is at Big T's expense because Big T is easily one of the best characters on this season. Mm-hmm. She brings so much fire, and seeing her so devastated tonight was heartbreaking. Like, you just wanted to crawl into the screen and give her a hug and be like, no, it's okay. You're fine. You can still do all this stuff without him. You don't need him.
Yeah,
I agree.
That was heartbreaking for sure. She's definitely a crowd favorite, I would say. Like, if they had a fan favorite vote, I think Big T would definitely be up there for it. So as much as I love CT, that was hard to watch at her expense, even if strategically you understand the move that he made. And I think Nam and Big T actually would have been a pretty interesting matchup. It sucks that we didn't get to see that pan out at all because, and as you said last week, John, about it being a Chekhov's gun and Nam's back, it's exactly what happened.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I would like to see Nam play again. That might be the only way that I actually come back and watch Challenge again is if Nam is back, or I guess come back and podcast about it. Because I do like Nam, and I think it's unfortunate that we only got to see Nam with Lolo because he finally gets rid of Lolo. Lolo is no longer there. He seems like he has the weight lifted off his shoulders. So I don't care whose side you pick in the Lolo Nam argument. You do what you want to do. But for this guy, the weight was lifted off his shoulders. And so when I sit down and I watch this, it's a shame that right after that happens, he's done and he doesn't even get a shot. He doesn't get to do anything because how would he have worked with Big T? I feel like it could have been similar to how CT worked with Big T, except a lot more sincere. Mm-hmm. Again, why is CT building up Big T so much? Because he's trying to get the storyline. That's all he wants. He wants the storyline of look at the underdog, look at what she's doing. And if he's not going to win, he's going to go out as the good guy. Well, tonight he got his gold skull, and now he says, great, I can win this as the Dick. I don't care. And I think that's what's interesting about a show like The Challenge is it doesn't matter how much people hate you once you do a part of the game that you need to do, which is get the gold skull. It doesn't matter how much people hate CT now. It doesn't matter how much people like Big T. Big T is never going to get back at CT now because what's she going to do? Put CT against Fessy? Nobody's going to vote that. Not going to put CT against Leroy. CT versus Corey, CT could beat Corey. CT's not worried about it. He doesn't care. And I think that's what's most fascinating about the way that this all played out tonight. And yeah, it's hard to watch, and it is. But, I mean, whereas I felt like what was happening with Josh and Devin was starting to get uncalled for and was getting uncalled for, and as I was saying, I wanted Lolo to quit. I wanted Josh out of the game. This didn't feel authentic. This felt so inauthentic that I wasn't even mad about it as it was happening because I was like, yeah, I feel bad for Big T, but this is bullshit that we're even watching this because the cameramen are sitting there with their handhelds like, all right, come on, give her more. Give her like, to me, that's just like not fun. It's like, okay, I'll just go watch a mockumentary then.
Do you feel that the way the conversation with Big T was presented to us was presented out of order?
Yes.
Yeah, it was a little choppy, I felt like.
Because like there's some things where it's just like it seemed to escalate really weird, and the way CT just said, "You're not ready for this or the final." Man, what a slap in the face to any challenge competitor to say that. That's literally the reason they are there is to compete in that final, and you're telling someone, "Hey, you can't do this."
Yeah, I mean, I understand I guess in his eyes, he was trying to give her like a reality check, but that was a harsh reality check. That was very much like mean because, like you said, that's the whole reason you come on to the challenge is to hopefully make it to a final challenge. And it's also just like, if anything, and I don't know if it'll pan out to anything, but if anything, he just kind of lit a fire inside of her to really kind of get her get her motivation back, get this kind of like fire in her belly to, to beat him, to beat whoever she is to beat, to get to the end and win. So I don't know if I would necessarily want to poke that bear.
You know what the thing is? My problem with it is I don't know if there is a bear there in terms of the final. I don't think he's wrong, and I think it's why people always cut Anissa and why they're probably going to cut Anissa here. And this comes back more to casting than anything. I love Big T. I think she's a great TV character for sure. She's a great reality TV star. However, on this show, every woman in there, maybe with the exception of Gabby and with Little Amber, could antagonize Big T and probably never feel the wrath of Big T. And so I think that comes down to casting more than anything, where CT could say all of this. He could poke the bear and light the fire and do whatever he's got to do. But at the end of the day, who is Big T going to beat in a one-on-one challenge to get her gold skull? And then who is she going to pair up with to win a final? I just don't see it ever happening, ever.
Yeah, and I mean, we even had, when CT did pick Cam in the most blatantly disrespectful way possible to Big T, other than saying, like, straight up, "Hey, Big T, you suck, I'm taking Cam."
He pretty much said that.
He did pretty much say that.
Yeah.
But we have Big T talk to Gabby. He's like, "I'm voting him every single time." And it's like, but what's that going to accomplish?
Yeah.
Because the house isn't going to do that because none of those guys want to be down there in an elimination against CT.
And I think that's what the realization for him was tonight, is that nobody wants to go against him. Now's the time to be thinking endgame. Take Cam. Yeah, he never should have taken Cam the way he did. He should have said, "Cam, I want you. Let's go." But the overreaction, the way he overreacted to getting Cam is the same way he overreacted to going with Big T originally. You know what I'm saying? Where he's overly, Big T, we're going to win this whole thing. And then, again, I think he just plays to the cameras. Honestly, in my opinion, that's annoying. It annoys me that he plays to the cameras as hard as he plays to the cameras. But it all feels like showmanship and whatever to cause drama, which ultimately is what Devin was doing. And even at the end, when him and Josh are being eliminated together, goodbye. He's still being a troll. He's playing it to the cameras. Somebody like Cam, who's on this season, at the beginning of the season, I thought that she was playing it to the cameras. But now that I've got to see her play, I don't think she's playing to the cameras at all. I think she's just playing the game. And so I'm more into that. I'm more into Leroy. Like, that's more interesting to me. What CT's been doing has just felt like he's creating the CT show on the challenge.
He's like Coach.
Yeah, he really is. Except he's in his 18th season, and luckily we haven't quite gotten there on Survivor.
Do you think part of this personality switch from him came from the fact that Devin was eliminated today? And he knew already that Devin was he would be taking up all that camera time. And now with Devin gone, he could fill that vacuum.
Maybe the editors thought that.
It's true.
I don't know if CT was thinking that meta about it. Like, oh, Devin's gone. Now I get more camera time. But maybe the editors were like, okay, Devin's gone. Let's fill this up with CT now. Because he's another, fan favorite. That would
Although
be
I do think that CT knows that the villain of this season was Devin up until this point. And if it's not Devin, it's Josh. Those are the two villains on this season. And they're both walking out at the same time, about to take a plane ride from freaking Iceland all the way back to America, which sounds terrible. I hope it was like one of those little prop planes where it was just the two of them on it. I hope they didn't even have anybody else. But I think he does realize that. And I think that this is his big chance. He even says, I want to play this game like a scumbag. And then he comes out and he plays it like a scumbag. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. And then he's like, oh, I'm so shocked. Everybody's angry with me. I'm not a bad guy. Goes out, gives a very forced apology that ultimately means absolutely nothing. And it's like, well, then, like, you're not doing this sincerely. Nothing here has been sincere this whole season. It is what it is. Look, what more do you expect from somebody who's playing their 18th season? That's what's kind of shocking to me when it keeps coming up that Nany's playing her 10th season. Everything she's doing feels so sincere. And it feels overly sincere, because why is she so attached to Josh? I can't figure it out. I'm so happy Josh is gone. Why would you ever be that attached to him? But what she's saying feels real. And even though she's on her 10th season, it doesn't feel like it's being forced the way whatever CT has decided to do in this last episode does.
Well, and part of Nany and Josh is just that, again, we just have to remember, we're not seeing everything in this house, right? And Nany's talking about how Josh really pumped her up. And while I don't quite believe Nany needs that much pumping up, she's a very self-sufficient woman who is quite strong in the challenges. When she went from Kyle to Josh, maybe that was a really big difference. And we just didn't see that in the edit, because the focus had to be Josh versus Devin instead of Josh and Nany.
Makes it almost seem like Nany might not be important as we're getting down to it here now. Like, Nany is the less important version of Nany and Kyle.
I agree.
Maybe that's what it is. Does Nany have, so Anise has a gold skull, Cam has a gold skull, Casey has a gold skull, Amber B has a gold skull. Nany and Gabby and Big T don't. Those are the three who don't.
Yes.
Okay. So Nany's still got to find a way to get one. I don't know what she's going to do to get one. I mean, maybe she does, and she definitely could. There's definitely people out there that she could beat to get one. But I don't know. It feels like she's being set up as, I can't do this with Kyle, and now she's going to lose. But then again, a lot of what has been set up on this season has completely done a 180. So who knows? I
think Nany stands a decent chance against either woman left without a gold skull. I don't know I think she could probably beat Big T. I think it would be close with Gabby, depending on what what the elimination ends up being. But Nany, like, if I remember correctly from her seasons that I've seen, she's kind of streaky in eliminations. She's done like really well at some, and others, like, it just doesn't end up going well at all. So I guess we'll have to see. But I think she is really feeling the pressure to get down into the crater and, figure it out one way or another. She doesn't just want to hang back anymore.
And I think it's going to have to be against Gabby. I think that's what ultimately these women are going to end up doing, especially since Cam, Casey, Amber B all have an alliance. Anissa's with Fessy. And then so they have total control over the house right now, whatever it is. And so I think that they're going to sit down and say, okay, let's throw down Nany and Gabby. Who cares? Like, and I do think that Corey and Gabby, at least from the end of this episode, it seems like they could win this challenge and that curse, decide to go down because they both need their skull. Gabby goes in against Nany and loses. I think all of that is very, very feasible in next week's episode. I do think that that's probably going to end up being what the pairing is Gabby and Corey and Kyle and Nany.
I mean, it's really going to depend on the outcome of this daily. But It's likely. I don't see the house not putting down the two people without their gold skulls, rather than putting someone in who has a gold skull for no reason when there's still one up for grabs. I kind of want to go back to something I said last week, in which I said CT should have picked Casey instead of Cam. And I do respect the fact that Cam is by far the best competitor, but that from like a social strategic side, it made more sense to pick Casey. I think we saw that play out as to why that might have been a better decision with the way Kyle responded to CT today.
Annabelle, why do you think he wanted Cam so much more than Casey? Like, why didn't he just go for Casey, piss off Leroy, and then let Leroy or whoever ultimately just pick Cam?
Because I don't know. I wouldn't want to piss off Leroy and Cam simultaneously, because they're going to do whatever they have to do to get to that final. I doubt it would be. I think they're trying to run it on separate teams so they can get, have as much of a chance as they possibly can. I kind of don't necessarily see Leroy and Cam running the final as a pairing. I think they're just hoping one of the pairs wins it. And I don't know, Casey physically it makes a lot of sense, but I think you have almost just as good of a shot with Cam as a physical competitor. And I really think that Leroy is also kind of an OG. And I think he probably just didn't really want to make another enemy that late in the game, because he's already going to make Kyle angry. So I think it was politics, and I think he also just has a lot of faith in Cam as a competitor. I mean, it seems like he's really been tripping over the fact that he snubbed her at the very beginning of the season.
Do you think it also has something to do with the fact that by teaming up with Cam, he feels like he's completely protecting himself? Because if you team with Casey, yes, you're a part of the Big Brother Alliance, but now Leroy's mad at you. Why did you do this? Leroy has to go team up with somebody else. Cam's already not happy with CT because of what happened earlier in the thing. So do you think he's just protecting himself and ultimately saying, you send me down and it's not a guaranteed male elimination week? That could be her going home, because pretty much the way that this is shaping up now, or at least the way it seems like it's going to shape up, is that the men are going to be the ones who go into the crater when it's even numbers. But that might not always be the case. So you're always taking a chance sending down him and Cam together.
Yeah, but the thing I would be really worried about as CT here is if I have Cam as my partner, isn't the next person to win a male elimination just going to take Cam?
You would think.
Like, if that's the case, right? Like, the only way he can guarantee keeping Cam is by going into an elimination and winning it. So that's why I think Casey might have been the better choice, because he's still getting a very strong competitor, but not one that's likely to be taken by anyone else.
So, okay, so now I'm trying to think of this. So this week it'll be a woman who goes, a woman versus woman, and then they'll pair up with the male who's left will pair up with Big T. Next week, it'll be probably a male elimination. So the week after that, it'll probably be a male elimination at even numbers.
Mm-hmm.
But the man who wins that gets to pick what female they want to be with. So, okay, so that does make sense, because if Corey wins, now he's going to want Cam, because he's going to say, okay, like now I want to be with you because that's going to make us, now I'm protected. Or Kyle would say, give me Cam back. Or Fessy would probably say, give me Cam, because he's trying to get away from Anissa, because now it's getting really, really close. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I
think there's a lot more strategically to this than they're putting thought into at this point.
Mm-hmm. There's got to be. There's a lot of scenarios that could play out, especially with Corey, the only male left without a skull. Now that Non's
only
out,
one.
He's literally the only one. Wow. Okay. So he and Gabby are going to be chomping at the bit to go down then.
Mm-hmm. That just means he's just going to be asked to be the house vote over and over again.
Yeah. And they're probably going to give him that. I think they will give him that, and he might be going against CT. Or he might be going now against Kyle, because Kyle, they're willing to they don't want Kyle anyway. So I bet we see a Corey versus Kyle sometime in the near future. That would be my guess as one of the first male eliminations now, because I know that it was 5-5 to start, and they were saying that we were going to have a 10-person final or something like that. I do not think there's any chance in hell we're getting a 10-person final. I think we're getting an 8-person final. I think that there's just been too many. I mean, John, you had said before, what, six non-creator eliminations on this season. That's a lot.
Yeah.
And what was that, Annabelle?
2 men, 4 women.
2 men, 4 women. So I just think we're going to end up with 8 because they're going to want to give Corey and Gabby and Big T a chance to at least get their gold skull. It's not their fault that they haven't gone down there yet. Some of this has been win the daily, but with all of the non-creator eliminations, it has thrown off how many chances. The fact that there's 5 men and 2 gold skulls have been stolen, and there's only 4 women and none of the gold skulls have been stolen. I mean, that just says how uneven this whole thing really has been because of the eliminations and such. So I do think that we're going to get it down to 8. We're going to see 2 more men and 2 more women. Well, I guess 3 more women and 2 more men go home before this is all said and done. It's just going to be a matter of who is allowed to get in there. You know, like who are they going to let get in there?
And that math checks out considering we have, 5 more episodes than a final.
Was this episode 12?
12.
This was 12. And they said 18, right?
It's 18 plus a finale. So, yeah, that should take us 18 plus a reunion. So that should take us right to there with 8 running the final, probably another elimination in the final, and then 3 people run.
Mm-hmm. And now they're kind of off schedule a little bit because they started this episode with an elimination instead of ending it with an elimination, and then we didn't even really get a daily. We just saw them getting handcuffed to each other. And what do you guys think about how the daily is going to go down next week? This like torturous night they're going to have.
I'm a little frustrated that this was a big part of last week's preview.
Me too.
Mm-hmm.
Because look, and I understand why they're saying this. And Adrian Celeste just said there's 19 episodes this season, but then Love by You said it's a 2-part reunion, so maybe that's why it's all.
It's 19, including the reunion.
Including the reunion, okay. Which I won't lie, we probably won't be recapping the reunion. Maybe John and Annabelle will, but I think I'm gonna be taking a nap. But I get why they had to do what they did this week. I'm not mad about how the last 2 episodes have gone down. Mm-hmm. I thought the last 2 episodes are 2 of the better episodes of the season, at least since the beginning of the season. I get starting off this week with the double elimination, not doing any last week, especially since it's Devin and Josh. That's what we want to see. Like, we want to see the 2 of them go. We want to see this big showdown. We want to see Darrell get his skull and CT get his skull. I get not rushing through, considering the Nam is also going to leave. But them being off schedule does suck a little bit. And so I do think that they're going to try to get back on schedule next week. And I think next week is definitely going to be a long daily. I think that whatever that nighttime torture thing is, it's going to take a really long time and probably take up about, 30, 40 minutes of the show. And then they'll get into everything else and kind of get back onto this. And now you're the double agents, and now you get to go have your party, and now you're going to go do your. I think that it'll just get kind of back to where it needs to be, and we'll see a woman go home next week.
Yeah, that's most likely what will happen. And hopefully the drama continues. And hopefully it's not as forced as it was this week, where we had those forced confrontations with CT and everything. Hopefully it's more just like regular drama. Maybe something exciting comes out of this daily because of who wins it. And maybe it isn't just another episode where it's like, okay, but we know Nani and Gabby are going down into the crater at the end of this episode.
Mm-hmm.
So now to Annabelle's question, John, what do you think that challenge is? I know, Annabelle, I can never answer a question with one thing. John, what do you think that challenge is really going to be like?
Seems like it's just an escape room. Right?
A really annoying one, though.
A really intense, psychological torture escape room. Probably with less puzzle aspects and more actual things you need to break and stuff like that. But that's kind of what it came across to me, that they're just trying to get out of their cell as fast as possible.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Annabelle, what says you?
that's a good take. I didn't an escape room I think is probably a good comparison. It's like probably like some puzzles, some mind over matter stuff. You know, maybe they give them something gross they have to eat to get to the next phase, a little bit of everything. They've done overnight challenges like prior to finals in the past, and those are really kind of just one of those things where you just have to keep yourself from going delirious. You have to stay really positive and communicate with your partner, and really whichever team is going to stay the calmest is probably the one who's going to win. So I will say that it's probably good we don't have Josh competing in this one next week. That's probably the best for emotional reasons, but we'll see. It seems like kind of one anybody could potentially win, depending on what the tasks are.
Yeah, it seems like they're just going to try to one-up themselves every task. Flashing lights, sound. It looked like Kyle and Nani had something gross that they probably were drinking or smell or who knows. Also, somebody just said that next week's episode is confirmed to be an hour, and I just looked up the schedule. It is only an hour next week, so I guess maybe this won't take up as much time. And maybe they knew that this was coming, and that's why they're also not so worried about being off schedule. And instead of having the whole whatever the first 10 minutes, 15 minutes of the challenge is anyway, just kind of get into it, and we're already started. But yeah, I guess it will just be an escape room, but I feel like it's going to be like extreme escape room. You know, how can we just mentally hurt them to make this more exciting?
Yeah, when TJ announces a challenge with, we're going to torture you. You're like, I'm sorry, what?
This is your worst nightmare.
Is this legal? What are you doing right now?
What are the laws in Iceland about this? Did anybody look that up?
I know, right? Did we all watch the Savage interview yesterday where he said if you break a law, then you're out. And there's got to be a law. I mean, somebody said waterboarding. I'm like, I don't know if you're going to be sitting there or getting waterboarded. I think that might be a little bit beyond what the challenge is offering here. Let's just put it that way.
They waterboarded them in Survivor Fiji, that final immunity challenge where they're literally on the stretching board. That always looks like waterboarding to me.
I haven't watched Survivor Fiji in so long that I totally forgot that happens. John
and I have a patron friend who's way into Survivor Fiji, so
yeah,
discussed that one a good
bit. So I guess not really talking about who we think is going to win that episode or that challenge or anything, but how do we think it will impact it that it is only an hour? Do we think that that's because it's just going to be kind of a simple episode, or is it just because they're running out of time and the MTV has decided, okay, you're only getting an hour next week? Because it looks like they're just throwing ridiculousness on right after it again, which how many episodes of ridiculousness are there? That's all they play.
That's a great question.
Honestly, they probably just got, if next week's is an hour, I wonder if the week after is also an hour, and we're just at the point where they've decided that the cast is small enough now that they only need an hour to cover everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm okay with that. I mean, I would rather have like one compact hour of like solid content that's going to progress the storylines and the competition than these long, fake, drawn-out conversations between contestants for drama.
Yeah, because I think tonight's episode could have been an hour easily. There was drama throughout. So I do think there was drama throughout, but I do think that they also could have cut some of this down. The challenges could have been shorter. They did a lot of those commercial breaks where nothing was really happening sometimes there. So I don't know. I just think that there's probably some stuff that they could do differently to make it an hour for sure. I don't think they've needed an hour and a half since probably episode 4 or 5, but especially with this week, I mean, it was a triple elimination and it still felt long that it was an hour and a half. So that's a lot. I mean, it's time to move on and get a little bit lower here and shorten it up so that every episode is as exciting as last week's and this week's were, even though last week's just led to a quit and this week's was what it was. I really did get what I wanted from these last 2 episodes. I was saying all along that this show was going to get better when Lolo quit and Josh was out of the game. And Lolo quit, and tonight's episode was probably the best one of the season, other than, early on. And when I say the best one of the season, it's because the first 40 minutes were so good, and the end was good. The middle, that whole thing with CT and Big T was weird, and I didn't like it, but it still had the most excitement. It had the most going on, all of the drama of switching teams and all of that. And then Josh and Devin go, and we finally got to see what this house would be like with just normal stuff. And Kyle and CT arguing felt like normal MTV to me. Big T and CT fighting, felt like normal MTV to me, because I always feel like a lot of MTV is staged and whatever. Yeah. So it didn't feel out of the ordinary. This felt like kind of what I was expecting to get into when I sat down to watch the challenge in the first place. So that was a good thing. I'm happy with how this is shaping up. I'm happy with what we're going to see moving forward.
Yeah, and that's really what it comes down to at this point is we haven't even really focused much on like the challenge performances themselves. Mm-hmm. How did you like the change to this elimination this time around with the addition of the puzzle?
I think they are stealing a page from Survivor with the puzzle being the great equalizer. They want, in theory, anybody to be able to win any challenge. And then especially with, they knew it was obviously going to be a men's elimination. A lot of the men are decent at puzzles. CT's really good at puzzles. Devin's really good at puzzles. A couple other guys too. But so I think they just added that in there, hoping it would make it more exciting. As we saw with Devin and Darrell, it did not matter. But I think they're trying to bring the mental element to it too, as well as the physical.
I kind of liked it because to me, sometimes they are all physical. And so I do like when they mix it up at least a little bit. Mm-hmm. and create a little bit of equality for everybody to have a chance. Mm-hmm. Devin is not going to beat Fessy at a hall brawl, but he could beat Fessy at this. He's not going to beat Darrell at a hall brawl, but he could beat Darrell at this. And I'm not saying everything should be equal. I mean, I like the idea. I always hate the idea in Survivor that when you put your foot on a perch, they make it the size of your foot. But then when it comes to, anything else, it doesn't matter. And mm-hmm. so like, oh, it's your body weight or any of that stuff. I always feel like it ends up favoring people that it really shouldn't favor, because at the end of the day, no matter how big that perch is, a big person is not gonna be able to hold themselves up as well, whatever. But so I like that they don't do equalizers, and throwing a puzzle every now and then, I'm fine with it. I thought tonight's was fine. I thought it was fun. I think it was more fun just because Darrell and Devin's was really where the drama was. We all mm-hmm. knew CT was going to kick Josh's ass, but Darrell and Devin's was where the drama was, and there was drama, and I'm starting to really like Darrell because I have never seen him before, so now I'm really starting to like him as he's starting to come into his own. And I'm sad to see Devin go, but also, did we need 5 more episodes of Devin? Probably not.
Yeah, that's how I feel about it too. And I didn't understand why nobody other than CT put all the pieces in a pile.
Yeah,
when they were retrieving them. So that seemed like the most basic strategy of this. And then Darrell and Devin both went into that puzzle and they're like, I just can't figure this out. And I don't know about you guys, but I do tangrams once in a while, and I feel like they're not the hardest types of puzzles. I mean, CT finished in 5 seconds?
Yeah.
But Devin and Darrell really seemed to be struggling with it. And because it was sometimes in the challenge, when they have these puzzles in the elimination, the competitors get a lot of help from the people on the sidelines. Mm-hmm. But because it was a double elimination, the puzzle was facing the other way, so they couldn't get any help. And I think that actually really made it much more fair for everyone to try to figure it out themselves.
Yeah, I think it made it a little bit more fun. I don't really do tentagrams. I'll do puzzles, but mm-hmm. I still feel like this puzzle was insanely easy. From what it looked like.
Yeah, I feel like Devin probably just got stuck thinking about it in one kind of way, and it was just completely the wrong way, and he just couldn't get his mind out of that frame, and that was just kind of why he blew it there, because, we know he's good at puzzles. We've seen him do it in previous seasons.
Probably just let the pressure get to him, too. I think that's something that easily could have been. Yeah. No, and I like the way that this went down. What do we think about Corey's decision to take Gabby and not take Big T after everything that happened? Because we talked about all the other decisions, but we haven't talked about that one.
I actually really like this pairing, personally. I think they balance each other out well. I think they're the types of players who they seem like they're very solid. They're very athletic. Nobody's really scared of Gabby. Nobody's really scared of Corey compared to some of the other guys in the house. Doesn't mean he's not a good competitor. It just means there's bigger threats still in the game. Mm-hmm. So I think they're kind of like a good team if they can, stay together. Corey ends up winning an elimination, and, so does Gabby. If they can make it to a final together, I think they're probably like a solid 2nd or 3rd place team would be my personal prediction for them if they can make it that far. But I like what he said about Gabby complimenting him with being good at puzzles, which he's not good at. And I just think because Gabby doesn't have like a lot of people really left for her politically, and neither does Big T, it doesn't really matter about the political part of the decision at that point. You just take who you think's a better competitor.
Mhm.
I actually disagree. And my reason for disagreeing is, while I think it's a good pairing and it is a good final pairing, neither one of them have a gold skull. It's not going to last. They don't know that Nam is going to get medically evacuated from the game. So at this point, you're thinking, okay, we're on an even playing field. This is what's going to happen. A woman is going to go home next because we know that they need to get their gold skull. You know that Gabby doesn't have one, Nany doesn't have one, and Big T doesn't have one. I actually think the smarter move here probably would have been to pair with Big T, because Big T is going to go into this challenge no matter what, where I guess she would lose, or probably would lose, which would end up hurting him because then he's the rogue agent, and then that gives him one less chance to actually get in there. But I just worry that, I guess it worked out differently, but I just worry that with how it was shaping up, if you pick Gabby, there's less incentive to go against Gabby right away. So actually, maybe I'm disagreeing with myself, but I don't know. I feel like Big T, with how negative everything was on her, is the house vote going to be Big T, or is the house vote going to be Gabby? That's really what it comes down to. You're thinking, or is the house vote going to be Nany? And who do you think has a better chance of winning, head of, or whatever it's called, because double agent? Because I worry that with the double agent, he's now with Big T. They're probably not going to win. But him being with Gabby, all that's doing is giving Gabby the opportunity to go down there. Okay, I finally found my train of thought. Give Gabby the opportunity to go down there against whoever the house votes in, and she could probably win. So I don't know. I'm probably not making any sense. I just feel like he should have went with Big T because of everything that was going on in this episode.
I definitely understand where you're coming from with this one, Phil. I think part of it comes down to the fact that I think Gabby was the least likely person to go down into the crater next week, which is why he picked her, because he doesn't want his partner going in and getting eliminated next week, because then he's the rogue agent, right? So strategically, it makes sense for him to go with the person he thinks is least likely. With all of this, with
that's a good point.
Everything going on with Big T, the house going to say no to Big T at this point? Probably not. Nani's are veteran at this point, so the house is going to be way more respectful for putting her down there than putting Gabby down there.
Right.
So taking Gabby, I think, was his safest way to guarantee that he can compete for a gold skull.
Mm-hmm.
And so I guess going back to what my point was, who do you have the better chance of winning a double agent, a daily with? You have a better chance with Gabby, which I actually think is worse for you. Because like you said, Nany's going to be the one who goes down because she's going to get the house vote because she's going to want it.
Yep.
And then that means Gabby, if you win with her, she's going to be like, I want to go down. Let's go do this. This is my chance. You have to do that. She's not going to beat Nany, or maybe she does. Who knows? But there's less of a chance. Big T's not going to win another daily, even though she's won 2. She's not going to win another one with you. She's probably not going to win the next one with you. And if she doesn't, whoever does win the daily is probably going to do everything they can to get Nany in there, and then it's going to come down to what the house vote is. So I actually feel like it's not the smartest thing. I finally figured out how I connected those dots. But if you win with Gabby, you're going to be forced to put Gabby down there, and Gabby's going to go against Nany, not Big T. Mm-hmm. If you go with Big T, you're probably not going to win double agent, which means you survive going into the male elimination with your partner still. Now, obviously, this is all a moot point, because guess what? Nam is gone.
Big T's not eligible to go down.
Big T's not eligible.
Regardless.
Yeah, but without knowing, and intern, edit out the last 5 minutes, but without knowing, I think it would have made more sense to go with Big T, because you're not going to win. No, I don't think they're going to vote her in, because they're going to vote Nany in. The only way that Big T goes in is if Nany does win double agent, convince the house to vote Big T in, and then Nany goes down. But based on how Nany's feeling with Kyle, doesn't seem like she's very confident to go back up there. So,
I mean, the other part of it, though, is it's pretty easy for Corey to make sure that they don't become double agents and Gabby gets her way and goes down there.
Yeah, I guess you can throw it, right?
You could just throw it.
Yeah.
God, I think like when Anissa though, like, and I mean, I know obviously like Corey has had his history on the show with the ladies, and I don't know it because I haven't watched it. But when like Anissa was talking about it, I feel like Corey probably thinks that Gabby's really hot, and now he's going to try to work with her to get her down there. Go ahead, Gabby, get down there and win this. You know, I don't know. Sometimes guys just don't think with their brains. You know, it's just a thing that happens. It's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have no way to follow that one up.
Yeah, I don't know.
You could be right. I would hope that that's not how he's thinking after being on the show for so many seasons, but who knows?
Who knows? Who knows? All right. Anyway, all that being said, it doesn't matter because it doesn't end up biting him one way or the other. He takes Gabby. Nam has to go home. Big T's not eligible this week. I think we are 100% going into a showdown of Nani versus Gabby. I really do think that that's going to be what we're going to see this week. I think that the women who have gold skulls are in such great positions that they're all in the same alliance. They're not going to throw each other down there to have to go against each other. Let Gabby and Nani fight it out. Unfortunately for Fessy, I think that he's going to have a very short-lived romance on this season.
But only time will tell.
You see, the next week's episode is called "The Spy Who Loved Fessy."
It's a good title. Wait, so Phil, you're predicting Nani will beat Gabby.
That's what I think will happen next week. Yeah.
Okay.
Do you agree, disagree, anything? You look like you went deep into thought there.
I think it depends on the challenge.
I'm thinking,
as always.
Yeah. So it's hard for me. So John and I, with some of the other patrons, we have like a fantasy draft for this season. And Gabby is on my roster, so I really want her to win, so I can get those points and have her go far. And Nam was on my roster too, so I lost him for tonight, so that was kind of sad. So I'm trying to like take that personal element out of it. I think it could be an interesting matchup though, depending on what it is. I mean, have we seen every elimination twice at this point? I'm trying to think. We've seen snapping point for the guys and girls. We've seen hall brawl twice. We've seen the ring one. We saw the throwing.
And we saw the fire one twice.
Haven't we?
And then the fire escape twice. So do they have another one that we haven't seen? Do they recycle again? What's going to happen, I wonder?
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm not sure because there hasn't been. Yeah, I don't know what they'll do as the thing next week. So maybe it'll be something we haven't seen yet.
Or maybe it's another hall brawl.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, hopefully it would be better than Amber M versus
Amber B.
Amber B. Yeah, I forget it was Amber versus Amber. John, what do you think next week? Because you keep saying we're not letting you out with it depends.
I was trying to avoid that. I do think it's pretty obvious that Gabby and Nani are going to be the ones going down there. I'm actually going to go out and say Gabby's going to pull the win. And I think it's because of the edit today where Nani was feeling not so great being paired with Kyle again and saying that she isn't as confident about herself because of Josh. I think that might take too much of a toll on her. She's going to get in her own head and Gabby's going to pull it off.
She's very much a head case player. And this is exactly what happened last season in Total Madness. She waited till like the very end to go in and get a skull, and she finally got her shot, and then she choked, which was sad. I mean, after seeing so many seasons of her, and like this is her 10th one she's yet to win. I think she's only made like 1 or 2 finals. I'd have to look up her stats exactly, but she's probably feeling like she's toward the end of her time with the challenge. Just maybe on like a personal level, she's over it or wants to move on. So. But yeah, I think Gabby is. I don't think we talk about her athleticism very much, but I definitely think it's there. And I mean, she won things with Devin, and we know Devin is not more athletic.
Yeah, and I think that's fair. I think it's hard just because we haven't seen her actually do anything. Like we haven't seen her have to compete, which makes it difficult to judge a rookie when you haven't seen it. So. We keep getting this question in here, but which people who already have a skull do you think will be thrown in again? If we are saying it's going to go to 8 and we are also confident that it's going to be Gabby and Nani, who are going to be the 2 men and 2 women who already have a skull that we're going to see go in?
From a get a tough competitor out,
Just from who do you think's gold skulls are in danger? Like which two gold skulls, if you're looking at this and Big T's got to get her skull, Gabby or Nani will get theirs, but they could go back in again. Corey's got to get his. Who do we think the 2 men and 2 women that are going to ultimately have to defend their gold skulls are going to be?
I think Anissa has to defend her gold skull.
Yeah, Anissa.
Potentially from whoever doesn't win a gold skull next week. I think she's just the easiest one to compete against. And then I think the correct strategy, if we get to the point where we are getting towards the final and it's becoming very clear that we're not everyone with a gold skull is right in the final, you throw down the 2 toughest competitors in both teams. So I would throw down Cam and Casey, and I would throw down CT and Leroy.
Or CT and Fessy, or Leroy and Fessy. One of the something of that.
Or Darrell. Like the men, you kind of have like.
Kyle's going to go down because nobody likes him, and they're going to try to get Corey his skull over Kyle. But then any of the other men, you just got to throw them against each other and see what happens.
Because you just want to eliminate some of the competition, so you have an easier field at the final.
The thing is, though, and it kind of depends on what they end up doing. So last season, you could place 2nd, 3rd, 4th, whatever down the line. But if you didn't get first, you didn't get any money. It was $500,000 for the male winner and $500,000 for the female winner. So, in my opinion, it kind of depends on how they're going to do the payout. Because if if just your alliance left, even if they can beat you, if everybody, obviously you want first, but if everybody gets paid, you want people who you like, who are going to get paid left, right? I don't know. I guess it kind of depends on if they're thinking with their head or their hearts. But if it's winner take all, yeah, you want the weakest people there, absolutely. And I guess they don't know that necessarily going into it.
Yeah, I also think that there's probably stuff on the back end that we're not seeing. There might not be prize money, but I definitely think there's appearance fees because
there's definitely you get a higher appearance fee for the number of seasons you appear on.
Well, and the number of episodes because that's just an Actors Guild type thing, and reality TV stars fall into that where if you're in an episode, you have to be paid a certain amount of money to be on TV. So they're definitely getting something, whether they call it prize money or a salary, that's different, but they're definitely getting something. So I do think that maybe they just say, screw it, let me just get to the final. I don't care who I'm running against. If I lose, I lose. I think Amber B could be somebody who has to go up again. She looked good against Amber M, but it was against Amber M. She's also a rookie. So if Cam, Casey, Anissa, and Nani are all still in it, they might say to themselves, hey, let's throw Amber B down there and make her fight it out. Or maybe Amber B and Anissa is the battle that we see. Yeah. Big T, Gabby are gone. Nani's gone. We have Casey, Cam, or I guess let's say Nani's in. You have Cam, Casey, Nani, Anissa, Amber B. Amber B and Anissa go head to head because they want Nani, Casey, and Cam to stay. They all have a tighter alliance, and Amber B has to go down because she's a rookie against Anissa. So we will see.
In the chat asked, if Big T goes into elimination, who do you guys think she can beat?
I don't think she beat anybody.
I think
there's no swimming elimination. So
it's true. That's what I mean. I'm not trying to be a dick. I just don't think she can beat anybody.
I think she has an outside chance of beating Amber B or Anissa in an elimination. But if she goes down there against Casey or Cam, she's
no shot.
Doesn't stand a chance.
Yeah, I agree.
And I do think, it depends on if it's with Anissa and it's something that's endurance based, maybe she could beat her. But if it's anything brute strength based, she's not going to beat her. And then with Amber B, she might need a strength based type challenge. Even though Amber B is strong, she is thinner. So maybe that'll just be something that works in her favor. I mean, you're not going to beat Casey. You're not going to beat Cam. It's just not going to happen.
No, they're beasts.
Yeah. No, because unfortunately, CT's right. Big T's not ready for a final yet. And it sucks saying that because of how much of a dick he was this episode about everything. And because of how amazing Big T is. And Big T's that person, you want Big T to make the final. At this point, I don't think there's a single person who watched this episode tonight and is like, I want Big T to make that final and prove everyone wrong. I just don't know how likely it is.
I agree. Well, I think we end it there. We come back next week with an hour episode. We see what shakes down. Big T and Corey are going to be leaving next week without gold skulls. That's the only thing that we pretty much can be certain of. I think that we're going to see 5 women, 5 men have skulls, 1 man and 1 woman without. And then we're going to see what happens from there and what their plan is. So we'll see. There's a lot to still going on. I feel like this is one of those shows where there's so many rules and so many little things that it's sometimes hard to keep up with. But hey, it is what it is. And it is fun for all of its craziness, but it needs to be fun all the time. Otherwise, I lose interest very, very quickly. So all that being said, we will be back next week, maybe with a special guest. We're supposed to have one tonight, but had to cut it at the last second because of fun stuff. So we were supposed to have somebody tonight, didn't, but we will be back next week. Lexa and I are talking chocolate and peanut butter next week for the Survivor Amazon for our classic Survivor episode. That's going to be on Tuesday. And then we're going to have Intern and Alexa talking, I think, Survivor South Africa episode 4. I think that's what they're on. And John and I, we just talked the Hours and the Adventures of Robin Hood last night. Totally bizarre combo, but it was fun. Next week, we're going to be talking about Darkman in Barcelona. Don't even try to find them. You won't be able to find them if you haven't seen them already. You're probably not going to see them by then. But try anyway. Go give our videos likes because, hey, that's what ends up working in our favor. We like getting likes. We like getting comments. Those are good things. That lets YouTube know that we're important and that we're useful. So do all of that fun stuff. Become a patron. Patreon.com/Survivor Specialist. A lot of fun stuff going on over there. I didn't even know our patrons had a game where they did a fantasy draft. But, hey, you might have been a part of that had you been a patron already. So something to consider. Otherwise, see you all next week with John and Annabelle. And yeah, hopefully Nam's back is okay because I don't think we ever got word on that. Forgot to touch on that, but whatever. Too late now.